I never suspected a thing. Not for 15 years. Claire was steady. Dependable. The kind of woman who kept the house running while juggling 4 kids and 12-hour shifts at the pediatric clinic. We had a loud, messy life. Soccer practices, spelling tests, family dinners, the works. I worked logistics. Claire worked medicine. We split the rest down the middle. Was it perfect? No. But it was ours. Then one Tuesday afternoon everything changed. I was on my lunch break, parked outside a gas station, scrolling through emails on my phone. Bills. Newsletters. Junk. Then I saw it. No subject line. Just a name. Rachel Myers. Didn't recognize it. Almost deleted it. But something made me tap. The message was short. You don't know me, Daniel. I'm Nathan Myers' wife. I believe your wife and my husband have been having an affair. For several years. That was it. No drama. No threats. Just a straight punch to the chest. I read it 3 times. Locked my screen. Sat there in the car, frozen. Nathan. It couldn't be. He was Claire's ex from before we met. I'd heard his name maybe twice in our whole marriage. She called him ancient history. They dated back in college, stayed friends for a while, then drifted apart. At least that's what she told me. My hands were sweating. I replied. Asked if we could talk on the phone, maybe. She answered 5 minutes later. Call me when you're alone. That evening, I sat in the garage with the door down and called her. Her voice was calm. Controlled. Too calm, honestly. She told me they'd been meeting for years. Not regularly, not every week. But often enough. Once every couple of months. Sometimes in Greenwood. Sometimes when Claire worked late. Sometimes when Nathan traveled for business. She'd found Claire's name in his messages. Dozens of times. Saved under fake names, hidden threads. Hotel receipts. Emails. Rachel had confronted him. He didn't deny it. He said it just happened. Said it was emotional at first. Said he and Claire had history. I didn't know what to say. I just sat there. I couldn't even feel my own hands. Rachel apologized. Said she was sorry to drop this on me, but she thought I deserved to know. She didn't want to stay quiet anymore. I thanked her. For her honesty. Then I ended the call. Walked back inside. Claire was at the kitchen table helping Jake with math homework. She looked up, smiled. Hey, everything okay? I smiled back. Yeah. Just work stuff. And in that moment I realized I didn't know this woman at all. Before that message I thought I had a pretty good life. Not flashy. Not some perfect Instagram thing. But real. Solid. I was born and raised just outside Indianapolis. Never left for long. Met Claire through friends when I was 25. She was in nursing school, already sharp, already tough in that quiet way. We clicked fast. 6 months later I asked her to marry me. People said it was too soon. But I knew. And I think she did too. We started small, rented apartment, hand-me-down furniture, shared cars. She worked nights at the hospital. I was doing warehouse logistics at the time, low pay, long hours. We didn't care. We just made it work. Our first kid, Jake, was a surprise. He came along 2 years after the wedding. 10 pounds of colic and attitude. But when I first held him, everything shifted. I became a different man that day. Then came Sophie 3 years later. Sharp, serious, and always asking why. Then a gap. We weren't planning more. Life was already busy. But then the twins. Emma and Eli. That pregnancy flipped everything upside down financially, emotionally, logistically. 2 infants at once? Yeah. That'll knock the wind out of any family. But man, those 2. They were magic. Emma was tiny, quiet, always watching. Eli was loud from day one, kicking like a mule even in the womb. Watching them grow up, the way they looked at me, the way they ran to the door when I got home, it made every long shift worth it. I never felt like I was missing something. I never doubted Claire. She was a great mom. And I mean that she was a great mom. Always present, always gentle. She'd rock the twins through the night, still make it to Sophie's spelling bee the next morning. She'd sit with Jake for hours helping him with science homework even after pulling a 12-hour shift on her feet. We didn't fight much. Honestly? Almost never. Sometimes we'd get tired, short-tempered, like anyone does. But there was no yelling, no cold wars. Just quiet teamwork. And sure, things changed over the years. Less time for date nights. Less energy for deep conversations. We were in survival mode most of the time. But I always thought we were on the same team. I'd see her sleeping on the couch after work, a toddler on her chest, and I'd feel lucky. I'd make coffee, rub her feet, kiss her forehead. That's just what you do, right? You take care of the person you built your life with. So when Rachel sent that message, when she said, "For several years," something inside me cracked. Not all at once. More like a slow tear down the middle of everything I thought I could trust. Because if Claire had been lying that long, if she could carry on a second life while raising 4 kids with me, then what was real? What part of the last 15 years actually belonged to us? That night, I couldn't sleep. Claire lay next to me, breathing steady like nothing in the world was wrong. I listened to that rhythm for hours, my eyes wide open in the dark. I wasn't angry. Not yet. I was something else entirely, something colder. Like the air had left the room. Like my heart was moving in slow motion and my body hadn't caught up. I watched the ceiling fan spin. I listened to the hum of the fridge down the hall. I heard every little sound in that house we built, and suddenly it all felt like it belonged to strangers. How long had she lied to me? Rachel said years. Not months. Not a one-time mistake. Years. And not with some random coworker. Not with a stranger. With him. Nathan Myers. Her ex. The guy I always had a weird feeling about but never let it show. She told me he was out of the picture. Ancient history, she said. Barely friends. She said it with a laugh. But apparently he was never gone. He was just in the background. Waiting. I started going through old memories in my head. Like scanning files in a dusty cabinet. Every weekend trip. Every girls' night. Every conference. I tried to connect dots I never even knew existed. It was too much. My brain couldn't keep up. So I got up, walked to the kitchen barefoot, made coffee I wouldn't drink. And then I sat there, in the dark, staring at nothing. That's when the thought came. It crept in slowly. Like a whisper I didn't want to hear. I tried to push it out. But it stayed. The twins. Emma and Eli. They were 5 now. Born in the middle of all that chaos. Claire was distant back then. I chalked it up to the pregnancy, to stress. But now I couldn't stop the thought. What if they're not mine? I hated myself for even thinking it. God, I did. I love those kids more than anything on this planet. They're my whole world. My anchor. But once that question formed in my mind, I couldn't unthink it. I started remembering things. Moments. Looks. Emma doesn't really look like me. Neither does Eli. They both have hazel eyes, neither Claire nor I do. Their hair's darker. Their features sharper. I'd always brushed it off. Genetics are weird. I never doubted. Until now. And the timeline. Claire got pregnant a couple of months after one of her weekend retreats with nursing friends. I remember because I stayed home with Jake and Sophie while she went off to a cabin 2 hours away. She came back glowing. Said she felt centered. I believed her. Yeah? I don't know what to believe. The guilt hit me like a freight train. What kind of man questions his own children? What kind of father lets this kind of doubt into his head? But the question was there now. And it wasn't leaving. I opened my laptop, hands shaking. Searched, home paternity test without alerting spouse. I sat there for 20 minutes, just staring at the results. I didn't click anything. I just sat in silence and tried not to fall apart. It took me 3 more days to actually go through with it. 3 days of pretending everything was fine. 3 days of packing school lunches, helping with homework, tucking the twins in at night, and dying a little inside every time they called me dad. I didn't want to doubt them. God knows I didn't. But I couldn't shake the thought. Claire moved through those days like nothing was wrong. Still laughing at Sophie's stories. Still sipping coffee at the kitchen counter in her scrubs, scrolling her phone. I kept watching her, wondering what else I'd missed over the years. And yet, I didn't confront her. Not yet. If I was going to set fire to everything, I needed to know the truth first. So I ordered the test. Discreet shipping. No label. It arrived 2 days later, just a plain white box left at the porch while Claire was out getting groceries. I shoved it under the sink and waited for the right moment. That weekend, Claire took Jake and Sophie to a birthday party. Just for the afternoon. Emma and Eli stayed behind. They both had a cold, nothing major. I sat with them on the couch, cartoons playing in the background, and waited until they got distracted with their cereal. I felt like a criminal. The test was simple: swabs, instructions, prepaid envelope. I'd helped them brush their teeth 1,000 times. This wasn't new. But now? Now every move felt like betrayal. I swabbed inside Eli's cheek first. He laughed and squirmed. "What's that, Daddy?" "Just checking your superhero DNA," I said, trying to smile. He giggled. "I bet I got Spider-Man in there." Emma was quieter. She always was. I told her the same thing. She nodded and went right back to her cartoons like nothing happened. I walked back into the kitchen, closed the envelope, and stared at it. My hands were shaking. I kept thinking, if this comes back the way I fear it will, then I'll never be the same again. But if I don't send it? I'll never know. And I have to know. That night, I waited until Claire was asleep. I drove to the nearest 24-hour post office. Dropped the envelope in the box. No ceremony. No drama. Just a small sound, the envelope sliding into the bin, and silence. The next 10 days crawled. Every time the doorbell rang or I checked my email, my heart kicked into my throat. I kept thinking about the twins. Their little voices. Their drawings on the fridge. The way Emma hugged me like she was afraid to let go. The way Eli shouted, "Dad," like it was the best word in the world. Could that really all be fake? No. It wasn't fake. That love was real. Still is. But the question remained, where did they come from? And how deep did Claire's lie go? On the 10th morning, the results came in. I stood in the garage. Door shut. Kids inside. Phone in hand. One line. 2 words. Not the father. I don't remember how long I stood there. 10 seconds. 10 minutes. Maybe longer. Just me, alone in the garage, staring at my phone. Staring at 2 words I couldn't unread. Not the father. My chest felt hollow. Like something had been scooped out of me. I sat down on the cold concrete floor. Hands still shaking. Phone still glowing. The twins were inside, probably finishing their cereal, fighting over the remote. My kids. The ones I held at the hospital. The ones I fed at 3 a.m. The ones I carried when they were too tired to walk. And now what? Now I wasn't even their father? I leaned forward, elbows on my knees, and tried to breathe. Not because I was panicking. I wasn't. It was something worse. I was calm. Too calm. Like my body hadn't caught up to what my brain just learned. You think when you find out something like this, you'll scream. Break something. Go numb. But all I felt was a kind of quiet that I'd never felt before. The kind of quiet that comes right before everything collapses. I went back inside. The twins ran up to me. Eli jumped on my leg, yelling something about needing batteries for his robot. Emma held out a picture she'd drawn, the 2 of us holding hands under a big sun with purple clouds. "See, Daddy? That's you," she said, smiling. I nodded. Swallowed. "It's beautiful. Can we hang it on the fridge?" she asked. "Of course," I said. And we did. I stood there staring at it for a long time after they ran off. She'd drawn me with a red shirt and a big smile. Claire was in the picture too. Off to the side. Smiling just as wide. And for a second, I felt hate. Not toward the kids. Never them. But toward her. Claire. For lying. For stealing time. For building a life with me while planting something that wasn't mine right in the middle of it. I remembered how tired she was during that pregnancy. How distant. How short-tempered. I'd chalked it up to hormones, work, stress. But now? Now I saw it for what it was. Guilt? It had been there all along, I just hadn't wanted to see it. I made dinner that night like usual. Bath time. Bedtime. I kissed the kids goodnight and told them I loved them. Because I do. But afterward I sat in the dark kitchen and stared out the window. And for the first time in my life I felt like a stranger in my own home. The walls. The photos. The dishes. The sound of Claire brushing her teeth down the hall. All of it felt borrowed. Fake. Like I was just passing through. And somewhere deep down I knew something had ended. Quietly. Without announcement. There was no going back. I didn't talk to Claire for 2 days. Not really. We said the basics, what time the kids needed to be picked up, who was out of cereal if the cat threw up on the rug again. But beneath that silence. Not the kind that ends in a fight. The kind where something's already dead and both of you are just pretending it isn't. I watched her closely. Not in anger. Not even in suspicion anymore. That part was over. Now I was just studying her. Trying to understand how someone could live 2 lives in the same house for years and still sleep through the night. She still moved the same. Still folded the towels the way she liked. Still hummed when she cooked. But all I could see now were edits. Rewrites. Nothing felt true anymore. And the twins. God. That was the hardest part. I kept hugging them longer. Stroking their hair when they passed by. Saying, "I love you," at random moments just to remind myself that whatever biology said, they were mine in every way that mattered. But I still couldn't look at them for too long without that ache rising in my throat. Not their fault. Never their fault. But they were the proof. The living, breathing proof of a secret I never asked to carry. That Saturday night, after the kids went to bed, I poured a drink and sat alone at the kitchen table. Claire was in the bedroom, probably watching some show we used to watch together. I had the DNA results saved on my phone. Still unopened since the day I read them. I didn't need to look again. The words were burned into me. I stared at that screen for a long time anyway. I kept thinking, maybe I wait. Maybe I just live like this for a while. Keep the peace. Keep the house. Keep the kids whole. But then I imagined 10 years from now. Me, still pretending. Her, still hiding. The kids growing up inside a lie we never named. And I knew I couldn't do it. I had to say it. Even if it shattered everything. Even if I lost more than I wanted to admit. I wrote down a few sentences in the Notes app. Just ideas. Not because I was going to read them out loud, but because I didn't trust myself to speak clearly when the time came. I know about Nathan. I know about the twins. I need to hear the truth from you. All of it. That was enough. I didn't want to fight. I didn't want revenge. I just wanted the truth raw, ugly, unedited. Because the moment I knew it, I'd finally be free to decide what came next. Not based on suspicion. Not based on fear. But on facts. I closed the app, stood up, and walked down the hallway. My hand hovered on the bedroom door. It was time. The door was half open. Claire was lying on the bed, back against the headboard, wrapped in a blanket, phone in her hand. Some show was playing. She glanced up, smiled like everything was fine. Hey, you okay? I didn't answer. Just walked in. Closed the door behind me. She sat up straighter. What's wrong? I stood there for a moment, just watching her. Not as my wife. As a woman I didn't know anymore. Then I said it. Claire, I know about Nathan. Her face dropped. Not a flinch. Not confusion. Just, drop. Like a mask slipping. She didn't say anything. I stepped closer. I know about the affair. I've talked to his wife. She blinked. Once. Then came the whisper. How long have you known? Long enough. Silence. Her hands clenched the blanket tighter. She stared at the edge of the bed like she was trying to disappear into it. It wasn't. I cut her off. Don't lie. Please. I don't need a speech. She swallowed. Nodded. Then, it wasn't supposed to last. But it did, I said. For years. She wiped at her eyes. I didn't mean for it to happen like this. I believe you, I said. But you let it happen. Again. And again. She nodded slowly like each movement weighed 100 pounds. Then I said the next thing. The real thing. I got a paternity test. Her head snapped up. I saw it then panic, shame, maybe even fear. But not surprise. I didn't want to, I said. But I had to know. She didn't move. They're not mine, I said, voice steady. Emma and Eli. Her breath caught. I didn't know for sure, she said. I thought they might be yours. I didn't. You hoped? I repeated. You thought? Claire, are you serious? I was scared, she whispered. I sat on the edge of the bed. Not close. Just enough to meet her eyes. I changed their diapers. I held them through fevers. I kissed their scrapes and rocked them through nightmares. All while you let me believe they were mine. Tears started to spill down her cheeks. She didn't wipe them. You were a good dad, she said. You are. I looked at her. Really looked. Don't say that like it makes this better. She nodded again, biting her lip. I never stopped loving you, she said, barely audible. I let out a short breath, not a laugh. Something colder. You don't cheat on someone you love for years, Claire. You just don't. She tried to speak, but nothing came out. I stood. I'm not going to scream. I'm not going to break things. But you need to understand something very clearly. She looked up. I will never look at you the same again. No matter what happens next. That's gone. That version of us is gone. More tears. Silent. She didn't fight back. Didn't argue. Just sat there looking like a ghost in her own skin. I turned to leave. She asked, what are you going to do? I don't know yet, I said. But the truth's out now. And you're going to have to live with it. Just like I will. Then I walked out. Closed the door behind me. And for the first time in 15 years, I had nothing left to say to her. I didn't pack in a rush. There was no shouting, no slammed doors, no suitcase thrown into the back of a truck. Just quiet. Heavy, deliberate quiet. I waited until Claire took the kids to her sister's for the weekend, something she'd planned weeks ago. I told her I needed the house to myself. I didn't say why. She didn't ask. She probably already knew. I stood in the bedroom we'd shared for 15 years. Looked around slowly like I was memorizing the furniture. The smell of the sheets. The drawer she always left half open. And then I opened the closet and started folding. Not everything, just what mattered. Clothes, papers, old photos of the kids. Left the wedding album. Didn't even touch it. Somewhere along the way I realized I wasn't grieving anymore. Not like I had been. The betrayal still stung, sure. But now, I just wanted out. Not to punish her. Just to save what little of me was left. I moved into a short-term rental across town. Nothing fancy, one bedroom, crooked blinds, a squeaky faucet that never stops dripping. But it was mine. Clean slate. Empty walls. And most importantly, quiet. I called a lawyer the following Monday. Told him I wanted to file. Joint petition. No fights. No drawn-out hearings. Just a straight line from point A to point done. When I told Claire, she just nodded. She didn't cry. Didn't argue. Didn't ask me to stay. She only said I figured this was coming. That was all. We split schedules for the kids. She'd have them 3 nights a week, I'd take the rest. I kept the van. She kept the house. No court. No yelling. But it still felt like a funeral. There were nights, that first week in the new place, when I'd wake up at 3 a.m., reach for someone who wasn't there, and feel that sting again. Not because I missed her, but because I missed the version of my life that I thought was real. That's the part no one tells you about betrayal. It's not just the person who lets you down, it's the version of yourself that you built with them. The version you trusted. And now I had to rebuild that man from scratch. The kids were confused, of course. Jake understood more than he let on. Sophie cried the first night she slept at my new place. The twins didn't say much, but Emma started drawing pictures of 2 houses with the same sun over both. Eli asked if I still loved Mommy. I told him yes. Because the truth is complicated. And they don't need all of it. Not yet. For now, they just need a dad who shows up, who tucks them in, who makes pancakes even when he barely sleeps. And I was going to be that dad. No matter what. It was a Thursday. Overcast, cold, one of those late fall days when the sky just hangs there like wet concrete. I was home early. The house was quiet, the kids were still with Claire. I'd made dinner anyway. Some dumb habit I hadn't shaken. The phone rang just after 6. Unknown number. Normally I'd let it go to voicemail. But something in my gut told me to pick up. Is this Daniel Ross? Yes. This is Officer Jennings with the Indiana State Police. There's been an accident. Your wife, Claire Ross. I'm sorry. She didn't make it. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. I just stood there in the kitchen, holding the phone, listening to a stranger tell me that the woman I'd built a life with was gone. Car crash. Head-on collision just outside of town. Other driver had been drinking. Claire was coming back from her sister's. It was over in seconds. They said she didn't suffer. I don't know if that made it better or worse. I sat down at the table and stared at the wall. Everything felt slow, unreal. Like the air had thickened and I couldn't move through it. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there. After a while, I got up, grabbed my keys, and drove to the station. There was paperwork, ID confirmation, more voices I barely heard. Everyone kind. Gentle. Like they'd done this before. Like they knew the rhythm of grief better than I did. When it was done, I drove straight to Claire's sister's house. The kids were there. Alive. Safe. Laughing in the yard. They didn't know yet. Claire's sister hugged me. I told her quietly. She broke down. I didn't. I was still locked up tight, like my emotions hadn't caught the news yet. That night, I sat them all down in the living room. Told them Mommy had gone to heaven. Jake tried to be brave. Sophie crumbled. The twins didn't understand at first. Then Eli started crying. Emma just sat there, holding my hand, silent. We slept in the same room that night. All 5 of us. Piled on mattresses and blankets and one another. I stared at the ceiling until sunrise. In the morning, I opened the small metal box in my closet. Inside was the paternity report. Still folded. Still sharp at the edges. I held it in my hand for a long time. Then I walked to the kitchen, lit a match, and burned it. Page by page. Those kids had already lost their mother. They didn't need to lose their father too. They were mine. Not because of blood. But because I chose them. And I was going to keep choosing them. Every day. 2 years passed. Fast and slow, like time didn't know how to behave anymore. The house felt different now. Quieter, yes, but not empty. Just older. Settled. Jake started middle school and got taller than me. Sophie learned guitar and got good at it better than I ever expected. Emma became the quiet artist, and Eli never stopped talking about dinosaurs and rockets. We figured it out. I became the kind of man who could braid hair, pack lunches, clean up after stomach bugs at 2 a.m. and still make it to work on time. There were hard days, of course. Birthdays. Anniversaries. Nights when I'd hear one of the twins laugh in just the right way and something inside me would twist. But it never broke me. Grief became background noise, not gone, just quieter. The kids never asked questions about Claire's mistakes. And I never gave them a reason to. They didn't need the truth. They needed love. Stability. Someone who wouldn't disappear when things got hard. So I stayed. I showed up. Every day. And then, one normal Saturday at the grocery store, something happened. I was standing in the frozen aisle trying to remember what kind of waffles Eli liked this week. They changed their favorites every 5 minutes when I reached for a box, and so did someone else. Our hands touched. We both laughed. Her name was Lena. She was divorced, no kids, worked in marketing, lived 2 neighborhoods over. Kind smile. Laughed at my dumb jokes. Didn't talk too much or too little. We ran into each other again the next week. Then again after that. Then we stopped pretending it was coincidence. Coffee turned into lunch. Lunch into long walks. I told her everything, not right away, but eventually. She didn't flinch. Didn't run. Just listened. She met the kids 6 months later. Emma gave her a drawing. Eli tested her on dinosaur names. Sophie played her a song. Jake mostly grunted and nodded, but that was his way of saying he didn't hate her. She fit. Not like a missing puzzle piece, more like someone who made the picture less blurry. I didn't ask her to fix me. And she didn't try. She just stood beside me. Calm. Present. Real. Some nights we'd sit on the porch after the kids were in bed, watching the sky turn dark. She once asked me, "Do you think you've healed?" I thought about it. Then I said no. But I'm not bleeding anymore. And that's enough. I still carry all of it. The pain. The betrayal. The loss. But I also carry the love. The loyalty. The choice I made to be a father even when the foundation cracked. That's what stayed. And now, I'm still here. Still standing.